I'm gonna take this old card and make it look better. Let's do it.
It's hard to tell, but he's a big blob of lava. So I put him in a volcano and added some fiery effects.
Here's the result. Pretty nice. As you can see, the idea of the art is pretty identical. Remake another old drawing? Let's do it.
So I added some scales, legs, and wing, and some motion blur too. And I also made that flying thing in the background.
Here's the result. Pretty nice. Art's pretty similar, but I tried to show more of the character than, whatever that flying thing is in the background. I'm gonna take this old card and make it look epic. Let's do it.
I went for the theme of a rocky cliff. I tried to stay as true as I could to the original drawing. I added some smoky and fiery effects.
And here's the result. Pretty nice. And of course, we gotta see them side by side. Let's recreate this guy today. Let's do it.
So I added some plants in the back and pretty much just copied the whole old drawing.
And here's the result. Pretty good. Another one done. Still got a lot left to do. Don't forget about these ones back here too. I'm gonna remake this guy today. Let's do it.
So I used every detail from the drawing. I added some messed up plants in the background with the evil RoboChop.
Here's the result. And here's a side-by-side comparison. Time to remake another old drawing. Let's do it.
I'm not gonna lie, this took like an hour and a half to make. I don't know why. I guess I tried to add a lot of details. I had some falling cars, falling building, and some extra background buildings.
And finally, here's the result. And I guess you could see the similarities.
Out of all 210 FF cards, this one took me the longest to make.
Transform another old drawing. Let's do it.
So I added some extra details like galaxies and black holes. And I also added some of his rivals in the background. And this one took a long time to make.
Here's the result. Looks pretty cool. And of course, the side-by-side comparison. Time to remake another old drawing. Let's do the planet guy today.
I started with the background by adding some stars and planets. Then I added a moon and of course Baltron himself. And finished off with a couple galaxies.
And a pretty nice result. And they look kind of similar, but he's a lot bigger and there's way more details. So remake the cop car character.
So I modified the background a bit, but pretty much copied the style of the character. I had some fairly sharp tires and some pretty big horns.
Pretty cool. He looks a lot more like a cop car now. Of course, we gotta see the side-by-side comparison. Remake another old drawing. Let's do it.
This one actually took a long time to make. There was so much background stuff and little details, so it was pretty frustrating to make, but it was worth it.
And here's the result. Pretty nice. And I guess you could see most of the similarities. Let's turn this card into a legit drawing.
So I add the crumbling building with Jellish in the background. And I don't really know why I chose everything the other direction. And I spelled his name wrong too, but I won't change that.
And here's how it turned out. And you can see the similarities. The jellyfish over here and the breaking building. Let's enhance this old card I made.
So I added a stormy effect in the background and some fire. His name was so long I had to make his name so tiny to fit it.
And here's how it looks. I like that quite a bit. Here's a side-by-side comparison. And that's another one to add to the deck. Let's enhance another old drawing.
So I went for a pretty simple drawing with a squid coming out of the water. Only different thing about the squid is that it has a mouth. And I add some splashy effects.
And here's the result. Pretty nice. I guess you can see similarities, but I didn't end up making that ship. Time to remake another old drawing. Let's do it.
So I pretty much just copied the drawing because I had no other ideas. And I added a little bit of detail to the trees.
And here's how the remake looks. This is definitely one of my worst drawings, but still pretty nice. Make another old drawing. Let's do it.
So I made the character a little smaller to show more of the background. I had some fiery and smoke details. And of course, Ultra Boomso himself.
And here's the result. Pretty nice. And of course, you got to see the side-by-side comparison. Let's remake this old card today.
So I made a really simple drawing, just a character and a wave behind him. I mean, I've made a lot of cards at this point, so I have no idea what to add.
And here's how the remake looks. I decided to add a tsunami wave rather than that basic hill background because I use that way too much. I'll transform another old drawing. Let's do it.
This is actually one of the first cards I ever drew, so it ended up looking pretty weird. I pretty much copied exactly every detail. And then, of course, I drew Wrecking himself.
And here's the result. And the drawings are actually pretty similar.
These drawings are pretty cool, right? You know what else is cool? The sponsor of today's video, which is Fearless Fighters. Yep, my card game is finally for sale. So if you want to get yourself some booster packs, check out the link in the pinned comment. I hope you all enjoy because I've worked really hard on it. And if you get one of these 3 cards, well, consider yourself very lucky. Okay, back to the video.
And transform this old drawing.
Since he's a deep sea predator, I had a dark ocean background and a fish that he's eating. I had a glowing effect to his eyes and some bubbles.
And here's the result. Actually, I ended up making this one a lot skinnier. And that's another card for the game. I'm gonna recreate another old card.
So I drew a hill, tree, a flower, a rock, and of course, Stemage himself.
And here's the result. It's probably the most similar the art has been from old card to new card. Another one to add to the deck. Let's transform this old drawing.
So I drew out Drader, and then I drew him climbing a tree. I had some claw marks on the tree and some trees in the background and clouds.
And here's the result. Here's a side-by-side comparison. That's another one finished. Let's remake this old drawing.
So I made a simple drawing with no background, just a squid in the middle of the ocean with some bubbles around him.
Here's how it looks now. Here's a side-by-side comparison. Here's where he'll be packed to be sent to y'all. Let's remake Siron today.
So I just drew a large sand dune in the background, drew Siron himself. I added some asphalt spraying from his wheels.
And here's how it looks. I did more of a desert here rather than a forest. And that's another one done. Transform another old card.
This is actually one of the earliest cards I drew, but the character ended up looking horrible because of that, so I just redrew the character, and then it ended up looking pretty nice.
And here's the result. And I guess you could see the similarities. And that's another one complete. Let's remake this old drawing today.
I just draw a sky background and balloon, nothing much, it was pretty easy.
Here's the final version. This one's actually really easy to remake. It took pretty quick. The balloon is finished. Transform this old drawing.
So I stuck with the idea of a construction site. I put a wrecking ball, cone, and that other thingy in the background, and a hill behind him.
Here's the final version. Here's how they look together. And here are also the packs that this guy will go into. I'm gonna transform this old drawing.
So I drew a hole in the ground where Dig Soul is just sitting. Not a lot more than that, just a few things on the surface.
And here's how it looks now. Here's a side-by-side comparison. Transform this old card now.
So I added a sky with a dark rain cloud and lightning in the background. And I drew the snakish shape of Cynix with wings, horns, and other things.
And here's how Cynix looks. As always, the side-by-side comparison. I'm gonna transform Skulton today.
I went for a spooky graveyard style and added some graves, a full moon, and of course, Skulton himself.
And here's how it ended up. Pretty dark, but nighttime's not supposed to be bright, is it? And the deck is getting bigger. Transform another old Fierce Fighters card.
So I added a hill and a bunch of trees, pretty simple, and channel punching them.
And here's the result. Pretty nice. Well, I guess it's just more zoomed out here than that. Another one done. Wait. Is that a Fierce Fighters book? We make this old drawing.
So I drew a tree next to the giant mosquito. And not much else, just added some shops and buildings in the background.
And here's the result. Here's old Skeeto versus new Skeeto. This would be pretty scary if it existed. Transform this old drawing.
So I went for the style of Mortar doing a dirt race. I had some details, a ramp, and of course some goated sponsors in the background.
And here's the result. There's definitely a lot more detail in this one. Another one complete. Transform Super Krika.
This was simple. I drew the sun and some clouds, I drew Super Krika, and then I added a little cloud effect over him.
And here's how he looks now. And you could definitely see some of the similarities. This deck is getting pretty large. Let's transform another old drawing.
So I took most of the details from the old drawing, added a couple extra buildings in the background, and went for a stormy theme.
And here's how it looks now. And you can see some of the similarities. I actually like this one quite a bit.
Thanks for watching, and if you want to be part of the FF community, make sure to join my Discord server, linked in the pinned comment. Alright, bye!